The pregnancy test sat on the bathroom counter like a loaded gun. 2 pink lines. Clear. Unmistakable. Mocking. Scarlett Edwards stared at those lines until they blurred, until the entire world narrowed to just those 2 stupid, life-altering marks on a plastic stick she'd bought at a gas station at 2 a.m. because even CVS felt too public, too real. She was 26 years old. Single. Living in a cramped studio apartment in Brooklyn where the radiator clanked like a dying animal and her neighbors fought loud enough to shake the walls. She had $347 in her checking account, a job that barely covered rent, and a degree her parents had called worthless to her face. And now she was pregnant. With a man's baby. A man whose last name she didn't know. A man who disappeared into the night like smoke, leaving nothing behind except apparently his DNA and a complete destruction of every plan she'd ever made. This can't be happening, she whispered to her reflection. The woman staring back looked hollow-eyed, pale, like someone who'd just watched their life implode in real time. But what happened next? That's when the real story began. 6 weeks earlier, the graduation ceremony was exactly as boring as Scarlett had anticipated. Endless speeches about following dreams and changing the world, delivered by people who'd never had to choose between groceries and electricity. She sat in her cap and gown, diploma clutched in sweaty hands, scanning the crowd for faces she knew wouldn't be there. Her parents hadn't come. "We don't see the point," her mother had said over the phone 3 days earlier, voice dripping with that particular brand of disappointment Scarlett had learned to recognize before she could walk. "It's not like you're getting a real degree." Communications? What are you going to communicate, Scarlett? Your failure? Her father had been more direct. Don't expect us to celebrate mediocrity. So she sat alone while classmates took photos with proud parents, with siblings holding balloons, with grandparents crying happy tears. She sat alone and told herself it didn't matter, that she'd stopped needing their approval years ago. She was lying. Scarlett Edwards? Her roommate Maya plopped down beside her, champagne flask hidden in her purse. Why do you look like someone died? Just thinking. About? How I have a degree and no job prospects, $60,000 in student debt, and parents who think I'm a waste of space. Scarlett tried to smile. Failed. The usual. Maya handed her the flask. Drink. Tonight, we celebrate anyway. Your parents are idiots. They're successful idiots. My dad's a surgeon. My mom's a partner at a law firm. And I'm. She gestured vaguely at herself. This, Maya said firmly, is someone who graduated with honors despite working 2 jobs and getting 0 support. That's not mediocrity. That's survival. Scarlett wanted to believe her. God, she wanted to believe her. But late that night, alone in her apartment, she stared at the group text from her family. Her sister Emma, the perfect daughter, had just gotten promoted. Again. The congratulations flooded in from aunts, uncles, cousins. Endless praise for Emma's brilliance, Emma's work ethic, Emma's bright future. Scarlett's graduation? Not one mention. She opened a bottle of cheap wine and let herself cry for exactly 10 minutes. Then she stopped, wiped her face, and made a decision. She was done waiting for their approval. Done trying to prove she was worthy of basic acknowledgement. If they wanted to treat her like she didn't exist, fine. She'd exist so loudly they couldn't ignore her. But first, she needed to survive. The job at the marketing firm was supposed to be temporary. Just until something better comes along, she'd told Maya. That was 2 years ago. Now Scarlett spent her days creating content for brands she couldn't afford, writing copy that made overpriced garbage sound life-changing, and watching mediocre men get promoted over her with depressing regularity. Edwards, my office. Her boss Richard appeared at her desk, coffee in hand, expression unreadable. Now. Her stomach dropped. This was it. She was getting fired. Perfect. But when she entered his office, Richard was smiling. I have news. Good or bad? Depends on your perspective. We've got a new client. Big account. Italian investor looking to expand into US markets. Luxury real estate, high-end properties. He slid a folder across his desk. I'm putting you on it. Scarlett blinked. Me? Don't sound so shocked. You're good at this. Better than you think. He paused. Meetings tomorrow. 2 p.m. Don't screw this up, and there might be a promotion in your future. She grabbed the folder like it might evaporate. Thank you. I won't let you down. Walking back to her desk, Scarlett felt something she hadn't felt in months. Hope. Maybe things were finally turning around. That night, Maya dragged her to a party in Manhattan. Some rooftop thing thrown by someone who knew someone. The kind of party where everyone looked expensive and talked about summer homes without irony. I don't belong here, Scarlett muttered, tugging at her dress. Zara, not designer. Obvious. Nobody belongs anywhere, Maya countered. We're all just pretending. Now drink and try to look like you're having fun. The view was stunning. Manhattan stretched below them, all glittering lights and impossible dreams. Scarlett stood at the railing, letting the night air cool her wine-flushed skin. Beautiful, isn't it? She turned. The man beside her was tall, dark-haired, wearing a suit that probably cost more than her rent. But it wasn't the clothes that stopped her. It was his eyes. Dark, intense, like he could see straight through every wall she'd ever built. Very beautiful, she managed. I meant you. Smooth. She should walk away. Should recognize a player when she saw one. Instead, she laughed. That's quite a line. It's not a line if it's true. He extended his hand. Enzo. Scarlett. His grip was warm, firm, sending electricity up her arm. So, Scarlett, what brings you here tonight? My friend dragged me. You? Business. Always business. He leaned against the railing beside her. But I'm finding the company much more interesting than anticipated. They talked for hours. About everything and nothing. He was charming, mysterious, deflecting personal questions with the skill of someone who'd practiced. She found herself leaning closer, laughing at things that weren't that funny, feeling seen in a way she hadn't felt in years. When he kissed her, the city disappeared. What happened next, she'd replay 1,000 times. The elevator to his penthouse. Silk sheets. His hands learning her body like a language. His voice whispering things in Italian she didn't understand but felt in her bones. By morning, he was gone. No note, no number. Just the ghost of expensive cologne and the worst decision of her life growing inside her. Present day, the conference room. Scarlett smoothed down her blazer for the 15th time, clutching her presentation folder. This was it. The meeting that could change everything. Richard checked his watch. Where is he? Italians. No sense of time. The door opened. Scarlett's heart stopped. No. The universe couldn't be this cruel. But there he was. Enzo. Same dark eyes. Same sharp jawline. Same mouth that had, Mr. Rossi. Richard practically leaped up. Welcome. This is Scarlett Edwards, she'll be heading your account. Enzo's eyes met hers. For one fraction of a second, something flickered. Recognition. Surprise. Then nothing. His expression went perfectly blank, professional. Miss Edwards. He extended his hand. Pleasure to meet you. Meet you. Like they were strangers. Like he hadn't been inside her 6 weeks ago. She shook his hand, fighting to keep her voice steady. Mr. Rossi. His thumb brushed her wrist. Deliberate? She couldn't tell. The meeting was torture. She delivered her pitch flawlessly, years of training overriding her internal panic. But the entire time, she felt his eyes on her, assessing, remembering. When it ended, Richard beamed. Excellent work, Edwards. I'd like to discuss this further, Enzo said smoothly. With Miss Edwards specifically. Over dinner. Richard blinked. That's somewhat unusual, I insist. Not a request. A command. Scarlett's stomach flipped. That's really not necessary, tomorrow night. 8 o'clock. My driver will collect you. Enzo stood, buttoning his jacket. I look forward to our collaboration, Miss Edwards. He left. Richard turned to her, confused. Well. That was interesting. Interesting. That was one word for it. Scarlett made it 3 blocks before she had to stop, lean against a building, and remember how to breathe. Enzo Rossi. The man from the rooftop had a last name, a company, a driver. He'd sat through her entire presentation pretending they'd never met. What kind of psychopath does that? Her phone buzzed. Maya. Tell me everything. He's my new client. Silence. Then, I'm sorry, what? The father of my unborn child is my biggest client. He just sat through my presentation acting like we've never met. Maya. Oh my God. Did you tell him? Tell him what? Hey, remember that night you disappeared? Surprise, you're going to be a daddy. In front of my boss? Fair point. Maya paused. What are you going to do? I have no idea. But that was a lie. She knew exactly what she had to do. She had to survive this dinner. Figure out what Enzo wanted. And decide whether to tell him about the tiny life growing inside her that was equal parts miracle and catastrophe. The dinner, the restaurant, was the kind of place Scarlett had only read about in magazines. Chandeliers, white tablecloths, prices that required a second mortgage. Enzo waited at a private table in the back. 2 bodyguards flanked the entrance to their section. Bodyguards? Scarlett raised an eyebrow as she approached. For a business dinner? In my line of work, it pays to be careful. He stood, pulled out her chair. You look beautiful. You look like you're expecting trouble. Sit. Please. A waiter appeared, poured wine. Scarlett watched Enzo take a sip, then looked at her own glass. I can't, she said quietly. His eyes sharpened. Can't? I'm on medication. Doctor's orders. The lie felt clumsy. His expression told her he didn't quite believe it, but he didn't push. Then I won't drink either. They ordered. Made small talk. Danced around the elephant in the room. Finally, Scarlett couldn't take it anymore. Why are you pretending? Pretending? That you don't remember me. That rooftop. That night. Something flickered across his face. I remember everything about that night, Scarlett. Her name on his lips sent shivers down her spine. Then why act like strangers? Because what happened between us was personal. He leaned forward. What happens now is business. That's sociopathic. That's survival. His voice dropped. You don't know who I am. What I am. And that's better for both of us. So you're what? Some mysterious playboy who collects one-night stands. I'm someone you should stay away from. His hand moved toward hers, stopped. But I find myself unable to follow my own advice. What do you really do, Enzo Rossi? He was quiet for a long moment. I protect my family's interests. By whatever means necessary. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're going to get. He sat back. Now tell me why you really can't drink wine. Her heart stopped. He knew. Or suspected. I'm not, her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Leave the restaurant now. You're not safe. Scarlett stared at the screen, blood turning to ice. What is it? Enzo's voice sharpened. She showed him the text. His expression went from concern to lethal in a heartbeat. He snapped his fingers. Both guards materialized instantly. Lock down the exits. No one leaves. Enzo, what? Someone knows you're with me. He stood, pulling her up. That makes you a target. Glass shattered somewhere in the dining room. Someone screamed. Then gunshots. Enzo's arm wrapped around her like a vice, pulling her toward a back exit as chaos erupted around them. Stay low, he commanded. Don't make a sound. But Scarlett couldn't have made a sound if she tried. Terror had stolen her voice. They crashed through a service corridor, his bodyguards forming a barrier between them and whoever was shooting up Manhattan's finest restaurant. One thought screamed through her mind, the baby. I have to protect the baby. More gunshots. Closer now. Enzo barked something in Italian, something that sounded like a very creative threat. They burst through a kitchen, past scattered chefs, and out into an alley. The Mercedes screeched around the corner, door already open. Get in, Enzo ordered. Scarlett didn't argue. He slid in behind her, and the driver hit the gas before the door even fully closed. Who was that? Scarlett gasped, hands instinctively moving to her stomach. Who's trying to kill you? Currently? About 6 different organizations. He checked his gun. When did he pull out a gun, with disturbing casualness? But tonight's special guest was probably the Castellano family. The Castellano family. This is your normal Tuesday? More like Thursday energy, honestly. You're joking. Someone just shot at us and you're joking? His expression softened slightly. He holstered the gun and turned to her. Really looked at her. I'm sorry you got caught in that. I thought we'd be safe. Safe? Enzo, what are you? He didn't answer. The car wove through traffic at speeds that should have been illegal. Where are we going? Scarlett demanded. Somewhere you'll be protected. My apartment is the first place they'll look. His jaw clenched. Those people saw you with me. They have your face, possibly your name by now. If I let you go home, you're dead by morning. The words hit like ice water. Dead. Or worse. He reached for her hand. I know you're scared. I know this is insane. But right now, I'm the only thing standing between you and a bullet. So please, trust me. Scarlett looked at their joined hands. At his dark eyes holding secrets she was only beginning to understand. She was pregnant. Running from mobsters. Being protected by the most dangerous man she'd ever met. Okay, she whispered. But we need to talk about everything. Tomorrow, he promised. Tonight, we survive. And somehow, she believed him. The Hamptons mansion, the estate, wasn't a house. It was a fortress disguised as luxury. Iron gates, security cameras, guards at every entrance. Inside was marble floors, crystal chandeliers, art that screamed old money. Welcome, Enzo said, hand on her lower back. You'll be safe here. I'm not a prisoner? You're under protection. There's a difference. A woman appeared, Carmela, the housekeeper. Older, steel-gray hair, the kind of face that had seen everything. Guest room, east wing, Enzo instructed. Post security at both entrances. I have a job, Scarlett protested. A life. You can't just kidnap me. I just saved your life. His voice turned cold. You saw what happened. They won't stop. He showed her to a bedroom that looked like it belonged in a luxury hotel. This is yours. Bathroom's through there. Carmela will bring you anything you need. How long? As long as it takes. He moved to leave, stopped, turned back. I know you're angry. You have every right to be. But Scarlett, I won't let them hurt you. Why? We had one night. You don't even know me. Something flickered across his face. I know enough. He left, and Scarlett collapsed onto the bed, finally letting herself break down. This morning, she'd been a normal person with normal problems. Now she was hiding in a mobster's mansion, pregnant with his child, while people with guns hunted her for sport. Later, Carmela brought tea and ginger cookies. For the nausea, she said simply. Scarlett froze. I'd been with this family 30 years, miss. I know when a woman is carrying. She set the tray down gently. Your secret is safe with me. But secrets in this house have a way of revealing themselves. Be careful. She left Scarlett alone with tea, cookies, and the terrible realization that she wasn't as hidden as she thought. 3 days later, 3 days of pacing the mansion like a caged animal. 3 days of gourmet meals she could barely stomach. 3 days of watching Enzo disappear for hours, returning with blood on his knuckles he never explained. On the 4th day, Scarlett found him on the terrace at sunset. He stood at the railing, suit jacket discarded, sleeves rolled up revealing tattoos that snaked up his forearms. I didn't know you had tattoos, she said. He didn't turn around. There's a lot you don't know about me. She moved beside him, keeping careful distance. The ocean stretched before them, golden in the dying light. Then help me understand. Why did you really bring me here? To protect you. From what? Your enemies? Or from learning the truth about who you are? He finally looked at her. Both, maybe. I'm pregnant, she said. Just like that. No preamble, no softening. He went very still. 8 weeks. From that night. The rooftop. Her voice shook. I found out the day before our meeting. And then you walked into that conference room and I realized I didn't know you at all. I still don't. Enzo turned to face her fully. His expression was unreadable, but his hands gripped the railing so hard his knuckles went white. Say something, Scarlett whispered. I'm going to be a father. Yes. And you're terrified. Absolutely terrified. Tears slipped down her cheeks. I'm 26. I have student debt and a job that barely covers rent. My parents think I'm a failure. I'm not ready for this. Especially not with someone whose last name I learned in a business meeting. He reached for her, pulled her close despite her resistance. I'm not good at this. Feelings, relationships, any of it. I grew up in a world where emotion was weakness. But Scarlett, his voice cracked. You and this baby, you're the first good thing I've had in longer than I can remember. You can't just say that and expect, I'm falling for you. The confession burst out. I fell the moment you walked up to me at that party and called out my terrible line. And now you're carrying my child, and I know I should let you go, set you free, but I can't. I'm too selfish. Scarlett pulled back to look at him. You're a criminal. A mobster. People are trying to kill us because of you. I know. This is insane. I know. I should run as far from you as possible. Probably. His thumb brushed her cheek. But are you going to? She should say yes. Should protect herself and her baby from this dangerous, impossible man. Instead, she kissed him. And for the first time since those 2 pink lines appeared, she felt like maybe, just maybe, everything would be okay. 6 months later, the beach house was nothing like the Hamptons mansion. Smaller, cozier, right on the water. Enzo had bought it for her. Somewhere away from my world, he'd said. Somewhere safe. Scarlett stood on the deck, one hand on her very pregnant belly, 8 months now, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of gold and pink. Behind her, she heard the door open. Enzo's arms wrapped around her from behind, hands settling over hers on her stomach. "How are my girls?" he murmured against her hair. "Your girl is using my bladder as a soccer ball. Your daughter is fine." He laughed, and God, she'd never get tired of that sound. The genuine laughter of a man who'd learned to be human again. Things hadn't been easy. There were still threats, still danger. But Enzo had started the process of going legitimate, slowly extracting himself from the family business. For her. For their daughter. Her phone rang. She glanced at it, then at Enzo. "It's my mother." They hadn't spoken since graduation. 18 months of silence. "Answer it," he encouraged softly. "You need closure." Scarlett took a breath and accepted the call. "Hello?" "Scarlett." Her mother's voice was tight. "We need to talk." "About?" "Your father and I received an interesting phone call. From someone claiming you're pregnant and living with a man we've never met." Aunt Linda. Of course. The family gossip. "It's true," Scarlett said, surprising herself with how steady her voice was. Silence. "Then, this is exactly what we expected from you. Throwing your life away." "I'm not throwing anything away." Scarlett's hand tightened on her stomach. "I'm building something. With someone who actually sees my worth. A criminal, a man who's been more supportive in 6 months than you've been in 26 years. Her voice rose. "I have a degree you called worthless. A job you mocked. And now I'm having a baby with someone I love. And you know what? I don't need your approval anymore. I don't need your validation. I've spent my entire life trying to be good enough for you, and I'm done." "Scarlett, I'm done," she repeated, stronger now. "When you're ready to be actual grandparents, people who support instead of criticize, you have my number. Until then, don't call." She hung up. Her hands shook. Enzo pulled her close. "I'm proud of you. That was terrifying. That was necessary." He kissed her temple. "You've been carrying their expectations your whole life. Time to put them down." Later that night, curled up on the couch with Enzo reading a pregnancy book beside her, Scarlett felt something she hadn't felt in years. Peace. Her phone buzzed. A text from Maya. "How's my fierce best friend and her mob boss baby daddy?" Scarlett smiled and typed back, "Surviving. Actually thriving. Knew you would. You're stronger than you think." She looked at Enzo, at her swollen belly, at the life they were building from chaos and bad decisions and unexpected love. Maybe Maya was right. Maybe she'd been strong all along. She just needed the right circumstances, and the right person, to realize it. The birth contractions started at 2 a.m., of course. Because babies had zero respect for sleep schedules. "Enzo." Scarlett shook him awake. "It's time." He bolted upright, instantly alert. "Time?" "Hospital. Car. Bag." "Where's the bag?" "By the door, where it's been for 3 weeks." They made it to the hospital in record time, Enzo holding her hand through every contraction, whispering encouragement in Italian she didn't understand but felt in her soul. 18 hours later, their daughter entered the world screaming her fury at being evicted from her warm, comfortable home. "She's perfect," Enzo breathed, tears streaming down his face as the nurse placed the tiny, squirming bundle in Scarlett's arms. "She's perfect, and she's ours." Scarlett looked down at the red-faced, angry little person she'd created. Dark hair. Enzo's eyes. A grip that was already surprisingly strong. Lucia, she whispered. Her name is Lucia. After my mother. Enzo's voice broke. You're sure? I'm sure. And as she held her daughter, Enzo's arm around her shoulders, Scarlett realized something profound. A year ago, she'd thought her life was over. Thought she'd failed at everything that mattered. But she'd been wrong. She hadn't failed. She'd been preparing. Learning to survive. Building the strength she'd need for this moment. Her parents hadn't come to the hospital. Hadn't called. But that was okay. Because she'd built a new family. One that chose her every day. 1 year later, Lucia's first birthday party was small. Maya and her boyfriend. A few friends from work. Carmela, who'd become like a grandmother to Lucia. No biological family. Just chosen family. The people who showed up. Scarlett watched Lucia demolish her smash cake, getting more frosting on her face than in her mouth, and felt overwhelming gratitude. Happy? Enzo asked, sliding an arm around her waist. Deliriously. She leaned into him. Who would have thought? A year ago, you were the bravest woman I'd ever met. He turned her to face him. You still are. I'm not brave. I'm just surviving. Thriving. Raising an incredible daughter. Building a life from nothing. His eyes held hers. That's the definition of brave, Scarlett. Later, after guests had left and Lucia was asleep, Scarlett's phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Hello? Scarlett? Her mother's voice. Tentative. It's Mom. Scarlett's heart clenched. I know. Your father and I were wondering if we could meet her. Our granddaughter. Silence stretched between them. Why now? Scarlett asked finally. What changed? I saw a photo. Maya posted it on social media. And I realized. Her mother's voice cracked. I realized I'd been wrong. About everything. About you. And I don't want to miss any more of your life. Tears burned Scarlett's eyes. I don't know if I can trust you. I understand. But maybe we could try? Slowly? Scarlett looked at Enzo, who nodded encouragingly. Okay, she said softly. We can try. But Mom? If you hurt me again, if you make me or my daughter feel less than, we're done. For good. I understand. And Scarlett? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. They talked for an hour. Made plans to meet for coffee. Small steps. When Scarlett hung up, Enzo pulled her close. How do you feel? Terrified. Hopeful. Both. That's life. He kissed her forehead. Terrifying and hopeful, all at once. Epilogue. 5 years later, the elementary school auditorium was packed. Scarlett sat in the third row, Enzo beside her, watching their daughter stand on stage in a tiny cap and gown. Kindergarten graduation. Such a small milestone, but it felt monumental. Lucia spotted them in the crowd and waved enthusiastically. Scarlett waved back, blinking away tears. She's growing up too fast, Enzo muttered. Way too fast. Behind them, Scarlett's parents sat with her sister Emma. Relationships had been rebuilt slowly, carefully. There were still difficult moments, still old wounds that ached. But they were trying. That was enough. After the ceremony, Lucia ran to them, diploma clutched in tiny hands. Mama. Papa. I graduated. We're so proud of you, little one. Scarlett scooped her up, breathing in the scent of her strawberry shampoo. Her mother approached hesitantly. She did wonderfully. She did. Scarlett smiled. Thank you for coming. It wasn't perfect. It might never be perfect. But it was real, and it was theirs. That evening, tucking Lucia into bed, Scarlett thought about the woman she'd been 5 years ago. Lost, alone, terrified. She'd come so far. Survived so much. Built a life she'd never imagined possible. Mama? Lucia's sleepy voice broke into her thoughts. Tell me the story again. About how you and Papa met. Scarlett smiled. Once upon a time, there was a girl who thought she'd failed at everything. But she hadn't. Lucia interrupted, as she always did. She was just beginning. That's right, sweetheart. She was just beginning. And as Scarlett kissed her daughter goodnight, she realized something profound. Sometimes our greatest failures are just preludes to our biggest triumphs. Sometimes getting lost is the only way to find where we truly belong. And sometimes, the worst night of your life leads to the best morning you could imagine. She closed Lucia's door and found Enzo waiting in the hallway. Our daughter thinks we're a fairy tale, he said. We're better than a fairy tale. Scarlett took his hand. We're real. Real was messy and complicated and built on mistakes and miracles in equal measure. Real was choosing each other every day, even when it was hard. Real was building something beautiful from broken pieces. And real? Real was worth everything.